This is the Transformers Rise of the Beasts Ultimate Optimus Primal by Takara Tomy. You know, if you started collecting Transformers just about this time, you probably think this thing is huge. It actually is huge, but back in the day, back in 2007, I think, this was about the size of leader class figures. Leader class figures are now like half the size of these things now, but back in the day, you know, the boxes were huge. You'd get a leader class that was truly a leader class figure. Now, I guess this one is an ultimate class. I guess it's bordering on a commander class, leader class. I'm not entirely sure what kind of class this is, but it says Ultimate Optimus Primal. He's looking great in packaging. I mean, Takara Tomy usually never disappoints when it comes to their own versions of Transformers. I picked up this figure from Robo. Let's get this bad boy out of packaging.
Optimus Primal, named after you.
And here is the Ultimate Optimus Primal out of the box, and boy, this figure is a beast, pun intended, man. This is how you do Transformers figures. It is unbelievably good. This figure has MPM or movie masterpiece level type of quality, and I'm gonna dare say engineering. The plastic quality takes you back to 25 years ago when Hasbro made really quality products back in the day. I mean, somebody had told me we would never get to that kind of quality that we had 23 years ago. Here is proof that it is still possible, and leave it to Takara Tomy to really upstage Hasbro in delivering quality Transformers. Man, this figure just blew me away. It is probably the best Optimus Primal figure I have seen from both Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Let's take a closer look at the details of this new Rise of the Beasts Ultimate Optimus Primal. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 22 centimeters tall, or about 8 3/4 inches tall. And for comparisons, here he is with the Studio Series Maximals from Rise of the Beast. We've got Cheetor, Airazor, and Rhinox. And here he is with the Studio Series Rise of the Beast Voyager class Optimus Prime, as well as the mainline Rise of the Beast Voyager class Optimus Primal. With this figure, obviously, this thing doesn't stand a chance against this figure. This figure is just gold. It just surpasses the mainline by a mile. It's being considered and sold in Japan as a mainline product, not as a masterpiece, not as a Studio Series figure. It's being sold in line with these figures, and it is just tremendously far superior, better than any of the mainline figures that Hasbro has just released. So let's run through the various features that this figure has. Okay, so let's begin with the details. I mean, come on. Details on this figure, just spot on. Lots of sculpting, lots of molding everywhere you look on this figure. The paint apps are very subtle, but you can see right here, you got some nice metallic paint highlights here and there. You got some more silver right here. The gray plastic that they used for the hands and the feet, very, you know, they're dark colored. They're not the usual boring gray plastic that Hasbro employs. And the plastic, the dark gray plastic that they use for most of the parts, really quality type of plastic. You don't even need to test the quality of this plastic. Just by holding it, you can really feel how solid this thing is. As far as articulation goes, the neck is on a ball joint. The shoulders, you can go in and out, forward and backward 360. You got a sort of elbow swivel, as well as a hinge. Wrists are on swivel, and get this, fingers are articulated. You've got the first digit right here, as well as the last digit of the fingers. So lots of expression on the hands, dynamic posing here and there. The thumb doesn't move though. The waist has a swivel. And if this figure did not have a waist swivel, then that would have been a deal breaker, and I would have hated this figure because there's just so much details. There's so much potential for posing this figure because of this waist swivel. And without this waist swivel, it would be very difficult to get him in dynamic poses. The hips, they're on hinges that allow you to do the splits, go forward and backward. On ratchets, there's a thigh swivel. The knees are also on ratchets. They hinge back just a little over 90 degrees. The toes can move up and down because of transformation. The feet don't move though, except they tilt with a rocker hinge. Amazing detail and articulation. This is how Transformers should be done. He does have some missiles. These are the friction missiles. We'll show that off later. It looks so much like the old G1 or the 90s Beast Wars Primal rockets, in that they have these flame or friction heat flames on their tips. And then we go to his swords. I guess his blades that combine to form a double-bladed weapon. And this is probably the weakest part of this set, if at all. The sculpt is fantastic. I love the sculpt. It harkens back to the design of the old G1 or 90s Beast Wars blade, but the plastic they used is the boring, plain vanilla gray plastic that Hasbro's grown fond of. I don't understand why they had to pick this kind of plastic. They could have used bits of these plastic and molded it into swords, painted the blade silver, and then they could have added these as highlights, because the orange is actually pretty nice. I love that highlight, but on the gray, it just makes it look like something from Cyberverse or Earthspark. It doesn't feel like it's part of something as good as this. And this is where the mainline Voyager class figure does something better than this figure. And this is the sword from the Voyager class mainline Primal. And look how nice it is. It's made of this dark gray plastic that they painted in metallic silver. They could have easily done this with these blades, and I don't understand why they didn't. Let's talk about more features. The face has an alternate, there's an alternate face that you can actually rotate and swap and give him an unmasked face sculpt. And how cool is that? This was probably one of the features that made me believe that this is as good as an MPM figure, a movie masterpiece figure. Because an alternate face without really removing the head that sort of switches from mask to unmasked, that's something you'd see only in a masterpiece figure, or the least is a studio series figure. So that really blew me away. And I love this unmasked with the mouth visible face sculpt, and it really harkens back to the old Beast Wars, 90s Beast Wars look. And I'm not sure if they did show this in the movie, because in the movie when he maximized, he had this mask on, so I don't know how accurate this is, but I'm just glad they put it. And look at the green paint that they used on those eyes. I mean, come on, man. This is how you do Transformers. And then another feature he has, which I mentioned earlier with these rockets. He's got that 90s rocket launcher, shoulder-mounted rockets, and it's located here on the back of his torso. And to do so, you just open up the cavity. You flip these pieces up like this. This is so nice. If Hasbro were to spearhead this project, they wouldn't even add these bits right here. But Takara Tomy just really does a lot of fan service and great engineering. So you just flip out the cannons. Now the cannons use that plain vanilla gray plastic, which is very reminiscent of the old 90s Beast Wars toy, so it's fine. It's painted in red, just like the old toy. Then you can just pop the torso back, and then he'd have his cannons. And to activate the missiles, you just pop them in, and there you go. You can't really launch it as far, and for safety reasons, it's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna poke out an eye, so okay. Totally understandable. And one last bit of gimmick in terms of weaponry is his forearm mounted cannons. And there is a panel right here which you push, and it activates the spring-loaded cannons on his forearm. That is like the coolest thing. I'm actually deciding which one's cooler, this one or the face-changing gimmick. But this one, oh, both arms having these blaster cannons. I thought that was pretty amazing. This is something that Hasbro would not normally do, but Takara Tomy, oh yeah, definitely. And those are blast effects compatible, which I'll show off later at the end of the video. But close them up. I mean, come on, man. You can't get any better than that. That is just amazing. Transformers gimmicks. Unbelievable. Now, one last thing before we transform him into his ape mode. The instructions do say that if you have the Battle Master figures, they can actually interact with this figure because he's got a lot of 5mm ports, which you can mount these weapons. Even the weaponizer Arrow Stripe, I think his name was. You could actually have him here, but I don't have him anymore. I've sold it off. But you can plug in any of, it doesn't have to be these guys. It could be any of the Battle Masters, and he's got tons of these ports, which you can mount all of these smaller figures, and he really upgrade his weaponry, and that's just so cool. So to transform him in his beast mode, incidentally, you can store the blades right here. You want to remove the blades. You want to fold out this back panel right here and go ahead and rotate it and just leave it right there. Now you can go ahead and fold up the rocket launchers back in position. Fold these panels right here. Rotate that waist assembly so that this piece right here isn't interfering with these panels right here. Go ahead and fold up this back panel all the way back. Push out the head assembly, the neck assembly. Rotate 180 degrees to reveal the beast head. And then this robot head is going to fold, pop it down like that. Pop it back in. Fold it back like that. Okay, the chest, you're gonna rotate and replace it with the beast chest. Okay, fold the shoulder pads down, rotate the hands this way. They're just gonna stay right there. All right, the legs, you're gonna fold up the toes like that. You're gonna fold the legs up like this, as you would any Optimus Primal figure. And they're just gonna stay right there. They don't really tab onto this rear plate. They just kind of stay right there. And essentially, that's that. It's very simplistic for some people, but I do like it because that is traditionally how you transform an Optimus Primal figure. To me, sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's always been the transformation for Optimus Primal. I'm kind of glad they've been able to migrate it and translate it into something like this. And he looks absolutely amazing. You can still plug the weapons right here, but we're not going to do that. Appreciate this beast mode for what it is. Yeah, you can still see the toes. Yeah, some gaps here and there. But overall, I think it's a very solid looking gorilla mode or ape mode. I mean, come on. The head sculpt on this beast mode is just absolutely fantastic. There's so much emotion in that face. I mean, it even feels like you could open up this mouthpiece, but it doesn't, so it's a shame. But, had this been a masterpiece figure, you would have had a hinge right there to open that mouth. But lots of articulation on that head sculpt. If you want to see him with the Voyager class from the main line, I mean, obviously he's so much more superior than this one, but take nothing away from this Voyager class figure. I mean, without this, if you exclude this figure, I think this is still the best figure from the main line because I love the engineering, the sculpt. I gave this figure so much praises in my review, but the sad fact is it's just way too small, and this guy just obviously demolishes this guy, just dwarfs over him. Look at that. Now, if you want to compare him with the Studio Series Optimus Prime with his pea shooter, stand down. We are in grave danger, Optimus Prime. A grave threat has come to Earth. I don't even remember the script, but the lines. But yeah, I kind of think they're okay this way. Obviously he's just way too big, but they look great in this kind of setup and diorama. If you have a little bit of a jungle diorama, this could actually work. And if you wanted to see how they all look together, here is the Battle Master Optimus Primal in beast mode. I mean, they're like a cute little family. And if you wanted to, you can have him in an upright pose in gorilla mode, but it doesn't really quite work because that head sculpt doesn't really move down, and you got a lot of gaps on those knees. And so some final thoughts on this Takara Tomy Ultimate Optimus Primal. And if this image doesn't convince you of how great this figure is, I don't know what will. This is truly a remarkable figure and release by Takara Tomy. And Hasbro could really take a page from them in releasing future figures from the Rise of the Beast line. This figure takes you back to how good Transformers were 20-25 years ago. Plastic quality, just the design, engineering is just impeccable. I mean, with the shoulder cannons, the double-bladed swords, the pop-up forearm cannons. Those were not present in the movie, but they were a staple or a trademark and just really an iconic feature of the old 90s Beast Wars figure. This figure deserves an 11 out of 10. One of the few figures I'm going to give my 11 out of 10 rating. I cannot recommend this figure enough. If you have to spend money for it, for the shipping, because it is a Japanese market product, I think it's well worth it. It's money well spent, as opposed to like buying that animatronic, like robotic Optimus Primal. I mean, that thing is just rubbish. I didn't even bother looking at it or spending time on it. I've seen reviews of it. I mean, it's like you get tired of it after a day. This one is an actual Transformer figure that epitomizes what Transformers figures are. Great quality, great design, great engineering. Aesthetics are just magnificent. There's nothing really more to say. You gotta get this figure. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this Transformers Rise of the Beasts Ultimate Optimus Primal by Takara Tomy. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.